They say that what is good for the goose is good for the gander. It's a pity not many European nations see it that way. After the UK, Spain, France, and Italy refused to give landing rights or even, in some cases, airspace to the US as it was heading to give Iran a Turkey. So their eagerness to put on the kibosh
Yeah.
on the very nation who caters for 62% of NATO's financing, they're getting a bite on the arse they deserve.
Yep.
And nobody can complain that they couldn't see that one coming. In the US, they've decided to remove military hardware from Europe, in addition to the 5,000 troops from Germany. There was some rumour that these troop numbers would be sent to Poland, but then it's just remained that, a rumour. But what does seem to be certain is that one thing of its fighter jets and all submarines will be withdrawn from European service, leaving the European home countries to fend for themselves and fill the void. Der Spiegel, German newspaper, said that the European members of NATO will have to find their own reconnaissance drones, and Reuters informed that the US president will only work with those nations that quickly fill the void left after the US hardware is removed from European soil and waters. None of this can come as a surprise since President Trump called European members of NATO delinquent some years ago. And even now, except for Poland, the situation remains the same, with only insincere promises being made. Next month, NATO will be holding a meeting where the US is expecting nation members to bring concrete offers to the gathering. This will be a crunch time meeting as members of NATO will expose themselves in their inadequacies, especially with what Europe calls a Russian threat knocking on the door.
Right.
There you are.
Okay. Yes, it's interesting that, yeah, you mentioned Trump in his previous administration. Yeah, said a few hurtful words to
Oh,
them.
yeah.
Hurtful.
Some
Yeah.
whole yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Some nasty words that they laughed at. Um, yeah. Um, I mean, you have to. The problem. I mean, I said this years ago, prior to Trump coming in. The problem with us Europeans have always had is we've always wanted to knock the US for lots of different reasons, possibly deservedly sometimes. Yeah, that's and then but when we are forgetting that, yeah, they were writing the checks on a lot of things and actually, yeah, putting their personnel, American lives, on the line, as it were, be it wherever across. And okay, you and I don't believe that Russia's actually a threat. Some people do. Okay. Um, we have to, let's give them the benefit of the doubt and say their intelligence, their intel, the military or other intel is far greater than ours on that one. Okay. Um, so now we're now faced with this that Europe has now got to stand its own 2 feet. I remember learning at school that when America did actually walk away or try to ignore the presence of Europe for so many years, we went into World War One. Yeah. And then I think they set up the League of Nations that was meant to prevent this war happening. The Americans orchestrated, and yeah, go on, you Europeans have got to grow up now. We don't want to be involved again. World War Two happened. I know the argument is they were linked in many ways, and probably historians in 50 years will or 100 years will start looking at that like that. Um, yeah, and then we had the United Nations and everything, and NATO was developed and everything to restore peace across the world almost. Um, what a damp squid that's proved to be. It may have had its moments with Kosovo and other flashpoints where it 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 provided a framework um, for countries to rapidly get together. Yeah, they would have a broad plan, a broad modus operandi, a command center, and everything else already set up to be able to go and work in any critical place where conflict could happen or was happening. Yeah. That's how I saw it. Now the NATO has become a political football, as it were, as well now. And yes, it was really just America. We've now proved that NATO was America, which we all knew anyway.
Yep.
I mean, the massive American bases that were in Germany, even the UK, yeah, Norfolk, right near where I come from, and other places, and across different places in Europe, naval bases in Italy and other places. I mean, yeah, Trump's gone in and he said there's a whole different ball game. And he said years ago, you Europeans have got to learn to talk to each other. Yeah,
Sort things out for yourselves.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, interesting thing. Don't think I made myself clear earlier on, but it's
yeah,
third of US fighter jets are going to be removed
yeah.
from Europe,
Well, that's a lot. Yeah, yeah,
and yeah, and all of their submarines. Now, the submarines were used or are used to check all the internet cables
mm,
in
yeah,
European water
mm.
to stop the Ruskies from cutting the cables.
Well, not just the Ruskies,
So now
any
now
hostile
that the
nation.
US
Yeah.
has taken now that the US has taken their submarines away,
Mm,
the Europeans have nothing to put in its place. Well, they
yeah,
do. If the UK can sort its one submarine that's in active service out,
yeah,
they can bring it back from the North Atlantic and start going down the English Channel again.
yeah. But that's going to leave the North Atlantic exposed from supposed threats.
Well, it depends what their mission is. If it's to look at the cables,
Yeah,
you've got to go to where the cables are.
yeah. You make it sound like it's a bit of a complete mess.
I don't try to. Self-explanatory.
Well, well, I honestly think that Trump has said it, and I think that's what his policy is. I think this is one time everything is non-negotiable because he's looked at the balance sheet as well. What am I getting for my bucks here? I get grief all the
Well,
time.
like I said, these countries, the European countries, shat on him
Yeah,
because he wanted to do something, and they're all supposed to be NATO countries. Where we go one, that's like the Three Musketeers. Where we go one, we go all.
yeah, all for one, one for all. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, um,
And oh no, where we go one, we go all is the conspiracy theorists. Sorry,
yeah, yeah, yeah. All for
I'm
one,
showing my breeding there.
yeah,
I'm
all for
showing my
one and one for all. Yeah, I remember the cartoon actually. Yeah, I remember the
yeah.
films, obviously. Yeah,
Well,
Oliver Reed.
read the books because they're nothing like the cartoons.
Yeah, I know they're not
Just to,
radical. Yeah, I
to
know.
let you know.
Yeah, I know. I've read. Yeah, I did have the books. I did read the book, one of the books. Yeah, yeah,
But anyway, coming back
yeah,
to the plot,
yeah,
um, the European nations shat on him from a great height,
yeah.
and in Spain's case, they wouldn't even let him use their airspace
Mm.
when he was going to Iran to drop his load.
Well, yeah. I think the shock is that Trump actually does what he threatens to do. I mean,
Well, not always, but the thing is that he threatens to do it, and you don't know if he will or not,
well,
and
this is
that's
it.
what keeps everybody on their toes.
Look, he is the ultimate negotiator. This is what I want to do. Yeah, you come back with, yeah, come back when you're willing to talk sensibly. Almost is his
Yep,
attitude.
that's right.
And that's the art of negotiation. And
Yep.
yeah, okay, there's high stakes involved now, but I mean, he probably thinks like we do. Russia isn't an overall threat. Nobody, I mean, no such thing as no, but yeah, I can't see. I
In
mean,
fact,
they can't even take Ukraine, really. You know.
over 75% of the German population
Yeah,
agree with us that
yeah.
Russia is not a threat.
I mean, it's the logic of why Russia would be a threat to Europe, Western Europe, anyway, because Why would they want to take over? They've got no ideological thing to spread any form of um, government or anything else. They're well outside all this ridiculous leftism that's coming across into Europe as well. You know, this weird leftism thinking, and it's I'm not anti-left exactly, but you understand what I'm saying with this. Is to me what's being discussed is not it's not what I would understand. Yeah, political leftism. Um, and
I was surprised in Russia that I didn't realize there were that many Muslims in Russia, but they were doing that celebration
mm,
that they've been doing in the UK in all the parks.
mm,
You know, the only difference is that in the parks in the UK, there were members of the Green Party tallying up how many
yeah.
votes they're going to get the next election.
Well, when you actually talk to Russians and everything, and well, I've actually spoken to some Russians, and okay, they were probably pro Putin, or well, pro Putin as you're going to get. Um, they were they were they were saying, what we forget is Russia is actually quite an open society, and if you stay within the boundaries, you're okay, and that goes for what I always call the subsets. And I know subset sounds a derogatory term, but it's a mathematical term, so it's a logical one. Um, Subsets make a whole. If you stay within the rules or the boundaries, you can have a life. Yeah.
But,
Um,
a Brazilian niece of mine studied medicine in Russia, in
mhm,
Moscow,
yeah.
where where she met her now husband, a Spanish bloke.
Yeah. Okay.
And so, I'm sure that if Russia was really, really as bad as what some people are trying to say,
Mm,
first of all, she wouldn't have gone, or if she would have gone, she wouldn't have stayed there very
yeah.
long,
Yeah.
and much, much less him,
Mm, yeah.
you know, husband.
Well, that's it. I mean, I've heard people being there, so it's absolutely beautiful, and and okay, they've got strict rules about vandalism and everything. It's an ordered society, whether you agree with that or not. But yeah, but you can have your religion, your faith, providing it doesn't take it over. I mean, obviously, I believe that Eastern Orthodox Christianity is the big religion there. Um, but yeah, Judaism is. I think the Jews live there, even despite history. Yeah, I know there's been Muslims there, because don't forget the size of Russia and the different cultures that were involved in
Huge.
Russia. Yeah, um, it's all encompassing, and they're probably the tolerance is probably bigger than better than we have tolerance in the West sometimes. But like you said, it has to be within a framework. Yeah, but the Russians have always been like that. Yeah, you overstep a mark, you're going to have a bad day. Yeah. Um, and this is it. We are, as the Brazilians said to me, the trouble with the Europe now, you're all far too tolerant with invaders.